She sold millions of records, dazzled audiences around the globe, and took home some of the industry's biggest awards. Yet behind the glamour and the chart-topping hits, Toni Braxton's life has been tangled in a web of family responsibility, financial chaos, and simmering feuds that threaten to burst at any moment. How did the once small-town girl from Maryland, famous for her soaring vocals and heartbreaking ballads, end up carrying so much weight on her shoulders? And are the very people closest to her responsible for dragging her down? This is a story that might make you look at stardom and sibling loyalty in a whole new way. Toni Braxton's climb to the top is a story that sounds almost mythic. Growing up, she sang in her family's church choir, harmonizing with her sisters and discovering the power of her voice at a young age. But her path to fame truly began when she caught the attention of producers searching for that next game-changing voice, someone who could sing straight from the heart and captivate anyone who listened. Toni's sisters were there from the beginning. They performed together as the Braxtons, releasing tracks that showcased their collective talent. But as time passed, it became painfully clear that the industry had its eye on only one sister, Toni. By the early 90s, she'd landed a solo recording deal, and her debut album became an instant sensation. Tracks like Another Sad Love Song and Breathe Again didn't just rule the charts, they placed Toni in the ranks of R&B royalty. People couldn't get enough of her rich, sultry tone and the vulnerability she poured into every lyric. Before she knew it, Toni found herself center stage at award shows. Going home with Grammys, she sold tens of millions of records globally, racking up a discography any musician would envy. Yet if you were to believe the tabloids and the whisperings behind the scenes, she wasn't just chasing personal glory. She was also expected to take on a monumental responsibility back home. As Toni's success soared, so did her family's expectations, and it began weighing on her far more heavily than most fans realized. Success can be thrilling, but it can also be daunting, especially when your entire family depends on your every move. From the moment she earned her first significant paycheck, Toni felt an unspoken obligation to take care of everyone, her mother, siblings, and even extended kin. Whether it was covering rent, paying for cars, or ensuring medical bills were handled, Toni was the go-to person. According to multiple accounts, she rarely balked at her role. Part of that came from her upbringing. The Braxtons were raised to be close-knit, and Toni felt a deep loyalty to her family. Her mother, Evelyn, had sacrificed so much for her children. Toni felt it was only right to return the favor. The real challenge, though, was how this generosity bled into nearly every corner of her finances. It didn't stop with a one-off check here and there. She had to keep a steady flow of assistance. Some of the sisters, like Tamar, showed willingness to pitch in however they could, even if they were still hustling to find their own footing. Others, however, seemed more comfortable stepping back and letting Toni shoulder the bulk of the financial burden. That disparity in who contributed and who didn't led to some unspoken resentments. Toni eventually opened up about feeling trapped. She was never truly free to live her life on her own terms, because she always had to factor in how the rest of the family would get by if she didn't continuously funnel money their way. Being one of the world's most famous R&B singers might look glamorous, but behind the show-stopping performances was a woman grappling with how to carry an entire family on her back. Even stars of Toni's magnitude aren't invincible to record label politics. By the mid to late 1990s, Toni Braxton had already proven her commercial worth. She generated massive profits for her label, but her own share of the pie was shockingly small, allegedly just a few cents per album. Coupled with the typical overhead for a top-tier artist, costs for tours, music videos, marketing, and more, the math started to look bleak. The public's reaction wavered between sympathy and criticism. Some fans felt empathy, believing she was a victim of exploitative industry deals. Others bought into the narrative that Toni had overspent on luxurious tastes, like brand-name flatware and designer clothes, only to watch it all crumble. Then came the infamous appearance on The Oprah Winfrey Show, which Toni once described as one of the most humiliating experiences of her life. She expected a platform to clarify her hardships and perhaps gain understanding. Instead, she walked away feeling judged and condescended to. Rumors swirled that Oprah had tipped off the label about what Toni intended to discuss, leaving Toni feeling blindsided. True or not, the talk show spectacle dented her reputation and made many question the truth behind her financial struggles. Shockingly, the downward spiral repeated itself. Years later, Toni found herself filing for bankruptcy a second time, this time tied closely to health complications. Diagnosed with lupus, she had to cancel a lucrative Las Vegas residency. The show's cancellation wasn't insured in a way that protected her, meaning she shouldered the financial fallout personally. Mounting bills, combined with the ongoing need to support her family, made it impossible to stay afloat. All of this led to more liens and more financial strife, an ever-deepening pit that Toni seemed unable to climb out of. As if financial woes weren't enough, the launch of the Braxton Family Values reality show introduced another layer of drama. Fans were thrilled to see the sisters, Toni, Tamar, Tawanda, Trina, and the late Tracy, on screen together. But insiders claim that behind the scenes, the tension crackled like a live wire. According to various sources, from day one, there was a disagreement over how much each sister should be paid for participating in the show. Toni argued that her celebrity draw was the main reason networks and advertisers were so interested in producing the show in the first place. Tamar's rising music career and high profile gave her an edge as well. Some of the other sisters felt undervalued, complaining that no one person should take all the credit for the show's success. Money wasn't the only factor. Personalities clashed. Whenever a camera is present, conflicts can become amplified. It seemed each sister had her own set of priorities and grudges. The show's producers likely leaned into the drama for higher ratings, but it caused real fractures among the siblings. At one point, filming reportedly halted after a particularly explosive argument, with Toni storming off set. She was exhausted, both financially and emotionally, and had reached a limit. To outsiders, Toni Braxton and Tamar Braxton were the tightest pair of the family. Tamar often stuck her neck out financially where she could, and Toni defended Tamar's more outspoken behavior to the rest of the sisters. But it didn't take long for cracks to form in that bond as well. Tawanda, known for her more reserved demeanor, took issue with how Tamar handled disagreements. Social media spats, missed birthdays, and cryptic posts added fuel to the fire. Fans noticed that while Toni tried to maintain peace, she was also growing weary of the tension. People wondered if Tawanda was jealous of Tamar's blossoming success, or if deeper, older resentments were bubbling to the surface. Meanwhile, Trina, juggling personal challenges, often felt stuck between the stronger personalities of her sisters. Publicly, she claimed she just wanted unity. But privately, she and Tawanda both harbored confusion over Toni's and Tamar's closeness. Everyone talked about love and family ties, but the undercurrent of anger was undeniable. Eventually, a meltdown erupted in full force online. Tamar temporarily shut down her social media and hinted that the entire Braxton family was toxic, complaining she felt gaslit by her siblings. She even blocked Toni on some platforms, a move that Toni discovered when she tried to tag Tamar for her birthday. It became a war of words, with each sister defending herself and pointing the blame at someone else. All of this chaos can wreak havoc on someone's mental and physical well-being, and Toni Braxton is no exception. She has lupus, a serious autoimmune disease that already strains her energy and stress levels. Many fans have wondered aloud if the constant battles and betrayals, real or perceived, within her family worsened her condition. Toni has never fully blamed her sisters for her health problems, but she also hasn't hidden the fact that emotional turmoil and physical stress are deeply intertwined. It's a vicious cycle. The more drama arises, the more worn down she feels, which in turn makes it harder to stay on top of performing, recording, and maintaining a stable financial situation. And that's not even counting the heartbreak of losing Tracy, which rattled the entire family and added another layer of complexity to their shared grief and relationships. What's more, Toni's attempts to carve out time for self-care are often overshadowed by responsibilities she can't seem to shake. Whether it's offering her perspective on the family's most recent blow-up or stepping in to mediate heated conflicts, Toni inevitably finds herself in the eye of the storm. For years, fans saw Toni Braxton as the velvet-voiced star who sold millions of records and revitalized R&B with a signature sound that still resonates. Behind those big hits and public triumphs, however, lies a saga of family drama, financial struggles, and unending emotional pressure. Time and again, Toni assumed the role of provider and protector, only to suffer repeated betrayals, lawsuits, and breakdowns along the way. Now, as the Braxton clan forges ahead, people can't help but wonder if there's any hope for lasting reconciliation. Will these siblings, bound by blood and battered by disagreements, ever find common ground? Or is Toni destined to shoulder the weight of her family's needs and conflicts for the rest of her life? What's undeniable is that Toni Braxton's story is far from finished. She's endured more battles than most, emerging each time with a voice that continues to captivate. Perhaps that's the real lesson. Success has a price few can imagine, and sometimes that price is paid not just in dollars and cents, but in shattered trust and deep familial scars. The question of whether it's all been worth it lingers like a half-finished melody waiting for resolution. For now, one thing remains certain. Toni Braxton's journey is a testament to both the triumph and the turmoil that come when a single star rises, and everyone else expects a piece of the spotlight.